All right, we're being joined now from Brussels, Belgium, by global affairs analyst Collins Nweke. Collins, glad to have you join me on the world.
Thank you for having me. Beautiful tie there.
Putin is rejecting any Western troops in Ukraine by way of security guarantees, saying they will be considered legitimate targets while the war is on. What's your sense of what Putin is saying?
Well, this is Putin drawing a hard line, a hard red line. His point is deploy troops and Russia will see them as fair targets. It's a deterrence disguised somewhat in diplomacy. But you see, let's look at it from a strategic point of view. There are three or four things to underline here. Number one is the messaging behind, the statement. So it's a calculated deterrence, but we're also looking at, narrative framing by the Russian president. Then you can also talk of implicit, not explicit bargaining. And so these are ways of him actually trying to, solidify Russia's position. He's actually telling us that, foreign troops in Ukraine are legitimate targets, and this cannot be considered as a, casual statement. It's a strategic red line meant to discourage Western boots on Ukrainian soil. And then also looking at the narrative, Russia continues, portraying NATO as aggressor and, position itself as defending Russian sovereignty. And then, of course, this is all about negotiation. This is all bargaining. And so the implicit bargain here, not explicit, they haven't come to that. The implicit bargain here is he signals that a peace deal is possible if the West agrees to keep troops out and attempt to control, even at this point, the post-war security architecture, even before the post-war arrives. So these are the strategic considerations of the Russian president when he made those statements.
26 countries, called the winning of coalition countries, have agreed to these security guarantees for Ukraine, a push led by Macron to show that Europe can take lead, acting independently without Trump.
Well, this is, not just a war of weapons, it's a war of narratives. Putin is shaping the peace terms before peace even arrives. And so when, bringing it home, the broader context, of course, is the 26 countries that are quietly negotiating to send security reassurance, forces. Not active combat boots, at least not just yet, to Ukraine after a potential ceasefire. So Putin is preempting that move. Now, you can also notice escalating confrontation. Russia is pairing the threats with intensified drone and missile strikes, showing it intends to enforce its warning. And then, you can talk of what we call negotiation theater. Ukraine has dismissed Moscow's recent offers for talks, viewing them as tactical distractions rather than, genuine peace effort. So you see, like in all wars, narrative is important. And what we're seeing, both with, the alliance of 26 countries or partners, all of these are actually melting into that pot of, narrative control, which is a weapon of war.
That line is expiring. What do you see happening, and how does this impact Trump's outlook to the world?
Well, this obviously has implication for regional and global peace. I think the most noticeable thing here, Andy, is that peacekeeping is under threat. by labeling all foreign troops legitimate targets, Putin undermines any UN-style or NATO-backed, peacekeeping mission. Now, coming to that is just by way of preface. Now, coming to American president and what he might do, it has been very clear from his body language and all of that he actually hesitates sending boots on the ground in Ukraine. Now, what I see him doing more is, forming a closer alignment with Europe, towards deterrence and all of that. But putting troops, no, I doubt that the U.S. President is going to do that. So, it's it's a very complicated and complex matter. Putin's message isn't just about Ukraine; it's about controlling Europe's security map as well, and to some extent also the United States. This could deepen divisions, not heal them. And I think President Trump sufficiently understands that, and he will factor that in his calculation on what next the United States is going to do.
Well, the talk is that Trump has not pressured Russia enough. Well, Kim Starmer says Putin can't be trusted, especially in the light of the fact that Russia has repeatedly broken past agreements. The violation between 2014 and 2022 when Moscow backed separatists fought Ukrainian forces in the Donbas region.
Well, yes, obviously he hasn't, and that hasn't changed. Now, foreign troops in Ukraine could turn a regional conflict into a global confrontation. Now, if you ask me, I think even before Putin made the pronouncement, the American president, has continued to toe that line of reasoning, and that permeates the decisions he takes. That's why Washington and Brussels will prefer shields, actually shields rather than boots on the ground. And so when one can look at this from the perspective of say the geopolitical positioning as an emerging voice in the global south and a BRIC partner. Nigeria has a lesson to learn here, because we need to bring it home. Nigeria has a role in advocating de-escalation and shaping new multilateral frameworks. And so Nigeria can be seen to be a standalone. He has to work in consonance with the rest of the world, including, for instance, Keir Starmer of the United Kingdom, with whom Nigeria has, very, very cordial, diplomatic relations. And I believe that this will intensify in the coming months.
Putin is inviting Zelensky to Moscow for peace talks. Do you see that ever happening?
Zelensky has outrightly condemned that and actually turned it down, because he doesn't feel this is, based on any principled position. He thinks that this is not genuine, and he doesn't see why Ukraine should accede to that. So, no, it's dead on arrival.
This is happening or going on. Kim is vowing full support for Russia and is discussing partnership with Putin.
Well, I do not know of explicit, support from China for Ukraine. At best, we can look at their stance as being more of implied and, clothed in diplomacy. There is something in diplomacy they call, kind of diplomatic ambiguity. Now, obviously, Kim is a transactional leader. We do know that he is leading very, very, quietly this emerging multipolar world. And so he sees Russia playing a role there. India is part of his calculation. So this is, of utmost importance to him. And I believe that his actions in this particular case will actually be tempered by the feeling that he does not want to, upset that ambition of being the leader of the emerging multipolar world. And so that is why he appears leaning towards Russia, but doing it in a manner that is more implicit than explicit.
We'll leave it there. Callings Nweke, speaking from Brussels, Belgium, Global Affairs Analyst. Thank you so much.